This is macOS Ken.
OS betas and app updates. France revives a 6-year-old story. And Taylor Swift remembers there's an iTunes store. It is Tuesday, the 7th of October, 2025. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Clean My Mac, now with Cloud Cleanup. Try it free for 7 days and use code macOSKen20 for 20% off at clny.com/macOSken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSken. Apple hit Monday with a new round of developer betas. Mac Rumors ran a piece that had the Cupertino company seeding the second betas of iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS, and visionOS 26.1 to members of its developer community. The piece lists a lot of new stuff about which we knew from the first developer betas released a couple of weeks ago. Those include more languages for Apple Intelligence, liquid glass for the keypad and the phone app, new swipe gestures for some Apple Music controls, and visual changes to Calendar, Photos, and Safari. As for fixes and features from this week's betas, a separate piece from Mac Rumors had word of one for iOS. According to the piece, iOS 26.1 will make it harder to accidentally turn off an alarm. As the OS stands now, the piece points to how easy it is to accidentally tap stop instead of snooze. In iOS 26.1, tapping stop apparently will not stop a thing. Mac Rumor says stopping an alarm in iOS 26.1 Beta 2 requires a new slide to stop gesture rather than a simple tap. The new slide to stop button is still as large as the snooze and stop button, so Apple keeps its updated design while solving the problem that design introduced. The report says timers also got the slide-to-stop treatment in this week's developer beta. Sliding seems to be all the rage in the 26.1 line. In addition to the alarm fix for the phone, a piece from Engadget says Monday's iPadOS beta is bringing back some of what SlideOver did. For those who don't know, the piece says SlideOver is a multitasking tool that lets users quickly reveal and hide an app that slides in and out from the side of the screen. One might expect that sentence to be written in past tense since iPadOS 26 did away with that feature. But it is back in iPadOS 26.1 beta. Kind of. The piece cites a 9to5 Mac report that says the latest implementation only supports one active app in SlideOver at a time. SlideOver worked for multiple apps in previous versions of the operating system, according to the report. Despite what the site calls that major downgrade, Engadget lists a positive for the reintroduced feature. According to the site, SlideOver has been designed to work with the new windowing system in iPadOS 26 with a major upgrade. Users can quickly resize the windows and change the aspect ratios, in addition to swiping right to completely hide them from view. News of one more change in this week's iPadOS 26.1 beta that should be music to some people's ears. A piece from 6 Colors says the OS update brings gain control for capturing audio through mics plugged into the tablet. According to the piece, an issue with iPadOS 26's new support for local recordings of camera and microphones was that you couldn't adjust the gain on USB microphones, leading to some serious overmodulation on hot mics. Now you can apparently ride those levels, so 3 well-modulated cheers. In addition, the piece says Apple has also added the ability for users doing local capture to specify where in the file system those files will be saved, so you know where you can stick your 3 well-modulated cheers. Mac Rumors expects the blankOS 26.1 updates to be out to the public later this month. Operating systems weren't the only software with which Apple monkeyed on Monday. 2 pieces from 9 to 5 Mac had Apple splashing liquid glass around on a couple of apps, the Apple Support app and TestFlight. On the Apple Support report, the site says the application got a new layered icon design, as well as the revamped navigation bar at the bottom of the interface. 9 to 5 Mac calls that one of the hallmarks of the whole liquid glass thing. Also, performance enhancements and bug fixes because why not? Apple Support is a free application. Version 5.1.1 is available now in the App Store. As for the story on TestFlight, 9 to 5 Mac says the app got a new icon, a completely refreshed look on multiple platforms, and welcome accessibility improvements. Those include adjustments to VoiceOver, voice control, and larger text, according to Apple's release notes. Also, stability improvements and bug fixes because why not? Digging a tiny bit deeper, code spelunker Aaron Paris is said to have spotted something interesting. Tester matching is a feature that will apparently let users find beta tests for apps that align with their interests. Again, though, he found that by going under the hood. The feature has not been announced by Apple and is not currently available to the wide world of developers. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Clean My Mac, and their new feature, Cloud Cleanup. Even if you've never used Clean My Mac, the name says what they do. It rids your Mac of stuff it just doesn't need with features like Space Lens and Cleanup and My Clutter. They not only help you see what's taking up space on your Mac, they help you deal with it. Of course, cloud services like iCloud, OneDrive, and Google Drive have become extensions of our hardware storage, so it makes sense that Clean My Mac would extend, adding the new feature, Cloud Cleanup. It also does what it says. Scans your cloud services to find big files taking up space in the cloud and on your computer. Once you know what's where, you can get them off your machine, knock them out of the cloud, or leave things the way they are. At least you'll have a handle on it. You can try Clean My Mac with Cloud Cleanup free for 7 days. Then when you're ready to sign up, use code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clny.com/MacOSKen. Since 2008, Clean My Mac has been helping users like us get the most out of our Macs. Now they are doing it again with Cloud Cleanup. Try it free for 7 days, then use code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at all caps, no spaces, clny.com/MacOSKen. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use my code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at all caps, no spaces, clny.com/MacOSKen. Back in the before times, Apple got into some sort of serious trouble with Siri. In 2019, says a piece from Apple Insider, Apple became the subject of criticism after it was discovered that recordings from Siri were being sent to third-party contractors working for Apple for quality control purposes. Did that lead to lawsuits? You bet it did, including one settled just this year here in the States. Now France is saying, again, or répétez. According to the piece, the Paris public prosecutor has opened a new investigation into the collection of recordings by Siri and how they are dealt with by Apple. The piece cites a report from Politico that says the investigation is being led by the Hexagon's Office Anti-Cybercriminalité. Man, they got a different word for everything, huh? Except for baguette. And finally today, I saw an article recently written by a Taylor Swift fan who said that she could see a day coming when she could just sign a withholding form that would send some of her monthly pay directly to the entertainer. That was based on the paid album release parties at movie theaters, the various versions of the same album, the concerts, the other movie events, and that list seriously goes on. Don't get me wrong, I like Taylor Swift. Not a Swiftie, but I like her. I do also admire her ability to make money, but at some point... To 9 to 5 Mac we go, where we find Taylor Swift releasing The Life of a Showgirl Deluxe Alone in My Tower acoustic version as an iTunes exclusive. Wait, did he mean Apple Music exclusive? He did not. According to the report, The Life of a Showgirl Deluxe Alone in My Tower acoustic version is now available on iTunes for $4.99. The piece says the album comes with some acoustic versions of a couple of popular songs, The Fate of Ophelia and Eldest Daughter, plus it includes voice memos that offer an inside glimpse at the creative process for the album. Now, if that makes you angry, I get it. If it makes you happy, you need to go to iTunes like now. Swift posted midday yesterday that the iTunes exclusive would only be available for 24 hours. I gotta say, I'm thinking about doing it because by law, it seems, what Taylor Swift needs is $5 more from everybody. In other news, iTunes is apparently still a thing. I thought I might have imagined it. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by Clean My Mac, now with Cloud Cleanup. Try it free for 7 days and use code macOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/macOSken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSken. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSken at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macOSken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
It's still sunny.